About the Film, everybody. I'm Cece.
And I'm Brian.
And today, we're getting invisible.
Your film knowledge is impressive.
And then that's when you take this and
Yeah, and I
key
get
it
rid of
out.
that.
And then
It just
flash.
floats. Yeah.
Like in the trailer.
Yeah.
He's coming up with the perfect way to torture you, even in death.
So, The Invisible Man is a 2020 film starring Elizabeth Moss. It's written and directed by Leigh Whannell, who is also the writer-director of Upgrade and the writer of Saw. So, this movie is about a young woman, Cecilia, who has recently escaped from a relationship that is heavily implied to be abusive, only to find out a couple of weeks later that the man she escaped from has committed suicide and left her a large amount of money contingent on her not committing a crime or being ruled mentally incompetent.
Right.
She believes that this man is still alive and has somehow found a way to become invisible to torment and haunt her.
The man's invisible. Credits.
Really, though. No. So, Cece,
Yes.
or Cecilia,
Gross.
what did you think of The Invisible Man?
I found it very unsettling that the main character's name was Cecilia.
Yes. Yeah.
My name is Cecilia, and it took me out of the film literally every time.
Yeah, anytime they said her name, I was like, Cecilia?
Cecilia.
Like, I don't go by that name often. We were talking about the fact that it's, like, my secret name. So
Don't call her Cecilia.
Don't call me that.
Especially not in the comments.
Unless you're my mother or my grandmother. But beyond that being unsettling, I liked it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What did you like about it?
It was the most tense theater experience, I think, of my life. I was so nervous and anxious watching this movie. I think we weren't that interested in seeing The Invisible Man initially.
Definitely.
Based on the trailers, they just felt like it gave everything away in the trailers.
Yes.
That was our impression of them.
Yes.
So we had no interest in seeing this until we started seeing people say how good this movie was.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really glad that we were convinced.
Yeah, it was getting really good reviews, and we were really surprised. At least I was really surprised because the trailer seemed to give everything away.
Yeah.
I will say this about this movie. The trailer and the movie are completely different.
Are you okay?
Someone's sitting in that chair.
He's coming up with the perfect way to torture you, even in death.
Totally different things.
Even though there are scenes in the trailer that are in the movie, it's not the same feel.
No.
It's not the same plot that you expect. Because we were going into this thinking, oh, this young woman doesn't know if she's crazy or if this guy is alive. That's not what this movie's about.
That's not what this movie's about.
Like, very early on. And, you know, plug your ears. It's a tiny spoiler, but it's super early
It's
in the
super
movie.
early in the movie.
And isn't considered to be, like, a twist.
No.
But you find out that there is an invisible person who is stalking Cecilia and who is trying to mess with her.
Yeah.
And she's not crazy, because you can see it happening.
You can see it happening in every way. You know exactly what's going on, and it is not about whether or not this woman is crazy, which I think is the plot of so many thrillers and horror films. Is the woman mentally incompetent? Whatever. This is about the very real and horrific implications of if your abuser could become invisible and torment you after everyone believes they're dead.
Right. No one believes that you're being tormented. Everyone thinks that you're crazy for pointing out things that happen to you. And yet you have to live with this abuser who is now able to get into every moment of your life without anyone else knowing.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying.
It's terrifying. It's chilling. Like, I had so many moments in this movie where I was, like, not able to look directly at the screen. Like, I was so tense
Yeah,
that...
I saw you.
It's not even that I'm scared of it. It was... my body's reaction to it being too much anxiety for me to handle. I was too anxious, and I had to take a moment and prepare myself and go, this is a fictional film.
Yeah.
Be a grown-up and recognize that this anxiety is being, like, simulated. It does a really good job of simulating that anxiety.
Yeah, I really liked the film too.
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel like I see too many horror films where it's a quick slasher film that's been put together in an attempt to get it out on Halloween or Friday 13th of some random month.
Yeah.
And I really thought that's what this was going to be based on the trailer. And instead, it was harrowing. Like,
Yeah.
I felt so much anxiety and so much dread while watching this film.
Yeah.
And yet, it felt good. Like,
Yeah.
in that, it's not that it felt good to feel anxiety and terror, but it was done so well
Yeah.
that I had to just recognize that this was an experience of watching a movie that was really well done.
Yes.
And I really liked that. I thought that it was just really well scored, especially.
Oh my god, yeah. The score is
music in
chilling.
this. Just like, there was this whole sequence where I think someone was running, or it was just a house, or and the score, the way that it was playing, just made me feel like, oh, what's gonna happen? Oh, what's happening?
Yeah, well, there are so many tracking shots in the interior of the house that are supposedly from the perspective of a person who is not there.
Yes.
Like, that is a huge framing device of so many moments in this movie, that the camera is acting as a person walking through the house unobserved.
Yes.
And so those moments, not much is happening, but they're chilling because of the camera work, because of the score, just because of the filmmaking.
Yeah.
That even every single time it started doing one of those tracking shots, those were the moments that I was genuinely anxious to a degree that I had to, like, take a breath.
Yeah, and they were doing those not necessarily, like, consistently. There would be a whole scene where it's playing out between a couple of characters, and then all of a sudden, the shot that you think is just some static shot to show turns.
Oh,
and
God.
You get so anxious and tense because it's so well done. And I also think that this is going to be one of those sleeper hits that you can show it to people and say, no, you're going to really enjoy this in the same way that you enjoy, like, a roller coaster or a carnival ride that really just amps up your anxiety and gets you feeling that real sense of dread and terror. I would compare it to shows like Midsommar, Get Out, those types of slow burn, high payoff sort of movies.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Those movies where it's about dread.
Yes.
It is about a slow building dread regarding the whole situation. I remember us saying very sime things after we saw Midsommar. I know some people say Midsummer, but we are purists. It's Midsommar. I've never checked to see how anyone in the movie pronounces it, but I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure. Like, it ends in AR. I've never said that I'm getting into my cur to take a drive. Like, do you want a candy burr? You know, like, it's Midsommar.
It's Midsommar.
Yeah.
But I remember saying very similar things walking out of that movie theater that we did walking out of this one. Just that, like, I had to kind of roll my shoulders. Like, my muscles had tensed so much that there was that kind of come down period after seeing it.
Yep.
In a totally different way. It reminded me a lot of the feeling that I had after the whole introduction sequence in Overlord, which is a very different kind of horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
But does that slow building dread so well in such a different way.
Yeah.
I felt just as tense after this as I did after Overlord.
Yeah, and I would say, especially that opening sequence of Overlord, like if you extended that feeling of dread and terror over an entire
movie,
over an entire film, you get something like Invisible Man, or the feelings that you would get from Invisible Man. It was so good at making me not realize when I was tense until it was too late, you know? Like, I would start tensing up because of the music, or I would start tensing up because of the camera angles, or I would start tensing up because they'd start framing characters in a different way.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to the point that there's action that you're supposed to be scared by, or not necessarily scared by, but like terrified and just feel the same way as that main character, you do.
Yeah.
And you didn't realize that you got to that point where you were curled up in your chair, or you were clutching the armrest. Yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
I don't like roller coasters. I don't like carnival rides, but I love a good horror film. I go and I see horror films specifically to see if it will pass that test, if it will make me feel that way. I don't get that from slasher films. No. I don't get that from, there's a ghost sort of films.
Yeah.
And I feel like this, Midsommar, Get Out, the ones where it's showing what people can do to other people and the lengths to which people will go to harm other people is really terrifying for me, and really just ignites that primal fear of what if I was in this situation, because you really can see yourself in that main character, acting the way she does, feeling the way she does, reacting the way she does.
Absolutely. And I was going to say that I often have a hard time with horror movies where the main character does something stupid. You know, that moment as a viewer where you're like, oh, come on. Now I know that things are going to go badly because you've made the dumbest choice.
Yeah.
This does a really good job of, like, realistic responses.
Yes.
How would you handle this? How do you even try to convince people who you have unfortunately had to systematically cut out of your life up to this point? How do you convince them to trust you now that you're back in their lives?
Yeah.
How do you convince anyone what's happening? I empathized with this character so much, and she always makes a choice that I feel like that was an incredibly difficult choice, but I understand each choice that she makes.
I 100% agree. I hadn't even realized that, but yeah, she makes so many decisions of when she tells people, how she tells people, where she tells people, where she doesn't tell people, that you can realize yourself, I might have made that same decision if I was put in this situation. I hate those movie tropes where you get someone who's holding a weapon to protect themselves from the bad guy, and they're like, well, I guess I gotta move to the next scene now, and they drop it.
I have more bullets, you know. You gotta stop doing that.
Yeah, I know. Just looks so cool.
Well, go get it.
Fine.
This movie, it sets up situations similar to that of, like, okay, what is the scenario in which you drop the weapon? What might make you feel like you need to do that? What sort of reaction would you have if this person's coming at you versus that person coming at you? It was really well done.
Yeah, and I would say that the only time that I felt like characters were making the dumb decisions, it was people who didn't know what was going on. Like, I had that frustration near, you know, the final act of the movie, where I was really frustrated with people making dumb decisions, and I had to keep checking myself going, okay, but be reasonable about what their experience of this situation is.
We have knowledge that they do not. They would probably react the same way if there was some woman yelling, look out, there's an invisible man!
Yeah.
You know? It's really interesting because Elizabeth Moss does such a great job in showing the every person.
The every person.
Because I don't know. I always get this sense that I'm going to be bored by Elizabeth Moss's performance. And I don't know where it comes from. And I think that it might be that she's so good at portraying the every person. That she's so good at just sort of blending in with us common folk. With her mannerisms and with her amazing acting ability. So I was riveted by her performance. I'm riveted by her performance every time I watch her in Handmaid's Tale. In any other movie that I've seen her, I've really enjoyed her performance.
Well, if we want to talk about other horror movies, she was a side character in Us. And she was really good in Us.
She was really good in Us.
Hey, I think it's vodka clock.
To the point that I sort of forgot that she was in that movie. Not in a bad way, like she did a bad performance.
But she blends.
She blends so easily into that cast that when I was reminded that that was also Elizabeth Moss, I was like, God, she just keeps being incredible.
Yeah, she's one of those actresses that is the character.
Yeah.
She's not just a face. You know, when you go and you see a Tom Cruise flick, you're watching Tom Cruise and his character is his costume. Whereas Elizabeth Moss is very good at becoming the character and embodying them through much more than costuming and lines.
Yeah. I don't know if this is going to make it into the final video, but I do have to say this because I just realized it as you were talking. I was thinking about other Elizabeth Moss roles and thinking about the first time that I saw Elizabeth Moss in a role, it would have been in The West Wing. The West Wing, where she played a character named Zoe, which is actually who my sister Zoe is named after.
Oh no.
My sister Zoe is named after the character Zoe that Elizabeth Moss plays in The West Wing, and we just saw a movie where she played a character with my name. I think we've come full circle. I just realized that.
That's it. She needs to retire.
She's done it. She's
Write her
checked
email.
off. Yeah.
Go ahead and text her. Just be like, Dear Lizzie.
Definitely going to have to tell Zoe at the bare minimum.
Yeah, that's insane. That's so cool. Yeah. So, overall, what would you rate The Invisible Man, and would you recommend it?
So, overall, I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars as a rating. I thought it was an incredibly strong movie. I thought the filmmaking was really good. I just think it isn't going to go down as, like, one of my favorite movies ever. It's going to be one of those, like, those standbys that maybe not as many people have seen. That I can, like, in a few years, I can be like, oh, man, you know what you probably missed in 2020? The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where a lot of my 4 stars live. Just those movies that I can kind of pull out later on in life and be like, I think you'd like this. So I would really recommend it. I think if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of thrillers, you're going to like this movie.
Definitely.
If you have a problem with super high anxiety movies, maybe wait until you can watch it at home.
Yeah.
Pause whenever you need to.
Yeah.
I do want to say that there are some, like, possible triggers for people. I'm going to go ahead and include those down in the description. It's just something I do, like, on my book channel when I'm talking about triggering content. So if you want to be aware of that kind of stuff, I'm going to put that in the description.
Sounds
but
good.
Ultimately, I really liked this movie. I recommend it.
I also really liked this movie. I would similarly give it 4 stars. I love that idea of having it on your shelf to pull off. I feel like this is a good movie where if you've just created a new group of friends and you want to watch a movie together, like a horror movie, you can pull this off along with, Midsommar, along with Get Out, and you'll have that same sort of shared experience.
Yeah.
I would really recommend, if you can, go and see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Because of the score being such a large part of the tension building in this, it's worth seeing it in a theater situation where you get that full sound experience.
Yeah.
It's also interesting that you said, I don't know if you should go see it if you want that high anxiety. I recently told a pregnant friend of mine, oh wait, you probably want to hold off on this one because it really gets your heart pumping.
Yeah.
It really gets that blood pressure ramped up.
Yeah.
So I would recommend it, but maybe if you're not the type who likes that or you have high blood pressure or something, just double check with a friend who has seen it.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Show yourself!
Step into your power.
All right, well, that's our video. Let us know if you agree with our ratings, with our overall impressions of the movie. Let us know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you liked our video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to our channel. It really helps us out. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Blue Babbles. Blue Bobbles.
Yeah, tell me about the show.
Oh, okay.
Tell me about the movie.
All right, here we go.
Tell me about the movie. Oh, what is the plot?
I'm getting to it.
What's it about? Tell the people.
No. I hate myself.